Birthdays were full of laughter, surprise trips, and careless joy, but time had slowly turned them into polite dinners and kind words that felt routine rather than alive. Michael slept beside her, calm and familiar, his steady breathing reminding her of the safety he always provided, yet also of the quiet distance that had grown between them without either of them fully noticing when it began. Claire did not doubt his love, but she missed feeling chosen, desired, and truly seen beyond the daily roles of wife, professional, and responsible adult. She slipped out of bed quietly and walked downstairs, the house still and peaceful, carrying the weight of unspoken thoughts. As she reached the dining area, she noticed a small wrapped box placed carefully on the table, simple and neat, clearly prepared with intention. Her heart skipped, not because of excitement for a gift, but because something about it felt different, almost serious, as if it carried meaning rather than celebration. She stood there for a moment, wondering if Michael had finally sensed the quiet sadness she carried or if this was just another kind gesture that would pass like all the others. The smell of coffee lingered in the air, and memories surfaced without warning, late nights when they talked for hours, the way he once looked at her like she was the center of his world, the dreams they made before life became heavy with responsibility. Claire touched the box but did not open it, suddenly afraid of disappointment, because hope hurt more when it faded. She told herself not to expect too much, reminding herself that love sometimes changed shape with time, even when it remained real. As she waited for Michael to wake, her thoughts moved quickly, questioning whether this birthday would mark another quiet year or something deeper, something honest. She realized that what she wanted was not luxury or surprise, but connection, and that longing made her feel vulnerable in a way she had avoided for too long. When she finally heard Michael moving upstairs, her pulse quickened, and she forced a calm smile onto her face, not knowing that this small moment would gently open emotions both of them had kept buried, setting the tone for a day that would challenge everything they thought they understood about their marriage. Michael came downstairs with a careful smile, wishing Claire a quiet happy birthday, and she noticed a nervous softness in his voice that made her chest feel tight before he gently pushed the small wrapped box toward her, asking her to open it when she was ready. Claire sat down, took a slow breath, and unwrapped it, expecting something practical, but instead she froze when she saw an old photograph resting inside a simple wooden frame. It showed them years ago, standing on a windy beach, laughing freely, arms wrapped around each other as if the world had nothing else to offer. Claire's fingers trembled as memories rushed back too fast to control, memories of a time when love felt effortless and their future felt wide open. Michael watched her closely, afraid to interrupt the moment, and when she looked up, her eyes were already wet. Beneath the photo was a folded note written in his familiar handwriting, uneven but sincere, and she opened it slowly, reading words that surprised her with their honesty. He wrote about noticing the quiet distance between them, about missing the way she used to light up a room, about realizing too late that love needed attention, not just loyalty. Each line felt like a gentle confession, not dramatic, but real, and Claire felt both comforted and exposed, as if her private thoughts had finally been seen. The note ended with an invitation, not a demand, asking her to spend a weekend away with him in a small coastal town where they once talked about building a life together, a place tied to dreams they never fully returned to. Claire's heart raced because the gift was not safe or simple, it asked something from her. Michael spoke then, admitting he had been afraid of losing her slowly, of waking up one day to find they had become strangers who were polite but empty. He told her he did not want grand forgiveness or instant answers, only a chance to sit with her again, to listen, to remember who they were before routine took over. Claire felt a deep mix of pleasure and pain because the gift touched exactly what she had been missing, yet it also forced her to face how lonely she had felt while standing beside the man she loved. She remembered all the times she had almost spoken but stayed silent, choosing peace over truth, and now that silence felt heavier than any argument could have been. Michael reached for her hand carefully, not assuming closeness, and when she did not pull away, his grip tightened with quiet relief. The room felt charged with emotion, not dramatic, but intense, like a long-held breath finally released. Claire realized this birthday gift was not about fixing the past, but about opening a door that had been closed out of fear, and that realization pleased her deeply even as it scared her. She looked again at the photograph, seeing not just who they were, but who they might still become if they were willing to be honest. Without promising anything, she nodded slightly, her voice soft as she agreed to the trip, and in that small decision, both of them felt the weight of years shift. Knowing the weekend ahead would either heal something fragile or finally force them to face the truth they could no longer ignore. The drive to the coast began early, the highway stretching ahead like a quiet promise. And Claire watched the city fade behind them while Michael focused on the road, both of them unsure how much to say. And how much to leave unsaid. The radio played softly, but most of the journey passed in thoughtful silence, broken only by small comments that carried more meaning than long speeches ever could. As miles passed, Claire felt her guard slowly lower, memories rising with each familiar turn, reminding her of the woman she used to be when dreams felt close and love felt easy. Michael spoke first, his voice steady but honest, admitting that he had sensed her pulling away long before he understood why, and that fear had kept him quiet because he believed stability was enough. Claire listened without interrupting, her heart beating fast, realizing how often they had protected each other from discomfort instead of truth. When it was her turn, she spoke clearly, explaining that her distance came from feeling invisible, not unloved, and that loneliness could exist even inside a marriage built on kindness. Michael did not argue or defend himself, he simply listened, and that simple act felt powerful. When they reached the coastal town, the air smelled of salt and freedom, and something inside Claire softened instantly. They checked into a modest hotel overlooking the ocean, and as they stepped onto the balcony, the sound of waves filled the space between them, calming and steady. Walking along the shore later that evening, they moved slowly, hands brushing but not holding, both aware of the fragile moment they were sharing. The setting sun painted the sky with warm colors, and Claire felt a familiar attraction stir, not physical desire, but emotional pull, the kind that reminded her why she chose Michael in the first place. He stopped walking and turned toward her, admitting that he still saw her, that he always had, but had forgotten how to show it in ways that mattered to her. Claire felt tears gather, not from sadness, but from relief, because being seen felt like coming home after a long absence. She told him she was afraid too, afraid that wanting more meant being ungrateful for what they had, and Michael gently told her that love was not meant to feel small or silent. They stood there as the sun disappeared, understanding that this trip was not about escape but about truth. That night, they sat on the balcony wrapped in blankets, talking until the stars filled the sky, sharing regrets, hopes, and quiet fears without judgment. There were no dramatic promises, only a shared understanding that love required choice and effort, not habit. Claire realized that the gift Michael had given her was space to speak and courage to listen, and that realization pleased her more deeply than any celebration ever had. As the ocean continued its endless rhythm below them, Claire knew this weekend would not magically fix everything, but it had already changed something important, because for the first time in years, they were moving forward together with open eyes and honest hearts, unsure of the outcome but willing to face it side by side. The final morning arrived quietly, sunlight slipping through the hotel curtains as Claire woke with a calm she had not felt in years, and she realized that something inside her had shifted without noise or drama. Michael was already awake, standing by the window, looking out at the ocean as if he were memorizing the moment, and when he turned toward her, his expression was gentle, patient, and free of expectation. They shared breakfast in the small dining area downstairs, talking easily about simple things, yet every word carried honesty, because neither of them felt the need to hide anymore. Walking along the shore one last time, Claire noticed how natural it felt to walk beside him again, not out of habit, but choice. Michael spoke about the future carefully, not promising perfection, but effort, presence, and attention, and Claire understood that this was not a dramatic love story reborn overnight, but something quieter and more real. She told him she was willing to try again too, not because it was comfortable, but because it finally felt truthful. The drive home felt lighter than the drive there, filled with relaxed conversation and shared laughter that surprised them both, as if joy had been waiting patiently for permission to return. When they reached their house, it no longer felt like a place of routine but a space with possibility. That evening, Claire unpacked slowly, placing the framed photograph on the living room shelf where she could see it every day, not as a reminder of the past, but as a symbol of choice. Michael watched her do this, understanding the meaning without words, and he felt a quiet gratitude settle in his chest. As days passed after the trip, nothing became perfect, but small changes appeared: longer talks, shared meals without distractions, and moments of attention that felt intentional rather than automatic. Claire noticed how Michael made space for her thoughts, and Michael noticed how Claire opened herself instead of retreating into silence. The birthday gift stayed with her, not as an object, but as a feeling, reminding her that love could grow again when nurtured with honesty. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset from their own backyard, Claire realized that she was pleased not because the gift had solved everything, but because it had invited truth into their lives. She understood that marriage was not about constant happiness, but about choosing connection even when it felt risky. Michael reached for her hand, and this time she held it firmly, not out of reassurance, but out of belief. The future remained uncertain, but it no longer felt empty or distant. Claire smiled quietly, knowing her birthday had marked a turning point, not with loud celebration, but with courage, emotional clarity, and the simple decision to move forward together, aware of their flaws, respectful of their history, and hopeful enough to keep choosing love one honest day at a time.